As I cleared away all the dirty plates, I rubbed my lower back. I was exhausted, both physically and emotionally. Meanwhile, Cinderella and Snow White were out escorting Kaguya's exes home since it had gotten late. Such gentlemen. That left me and Kaguya to take care of cleanup unsupervised.
You all right, Poppet?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
You should rest. I'll handle the rest of it.
Kaguya took the plates from my hands. It'll get done faster if I help. I grabbed a plate from a different table.
Yeah, but I can tell you're running on empty. Just take it easy.
Right back at you! I rolled up my sleeves and got to work washing all those dirty dishes. While Snow White was a huge asset during the party, he sure left one heck of a mess back here. I'll wash them, you dry them?
Right you are.
Once I finished cleaning a plate, I handed it to him and he dried it off. For a while, the only sound was the hiss of running water and the clinking of flatware. Good thing we found your exes pretty quick, huh?
Yeah.
I glanced at him out of the corner of my eye. A shadow had fallen over his smile. Did anything they said jog your memory at all?
Not even once.
That sucks. After a moment of silence, I donned a tone of forced cheer. This has all gotten quite complicated, hasn't it? If their keepsakes actually help you remember, then... I trailed off. If Kaguya successfully regained his memories as a result, then he would be handed off to some other woman. Now, keep in mind, all Snow White said is that we would recognize you to be his real girlfriend. That could play out, a potential of quite a few different ways. Two I've thought of is... He never said that Kaguya would recognize them as his girlfriend. He said that Snow White said he and Cinderella would recognize them as the real girlfriend. That's one possibility. The other possibility is that, real girlfriend or not, Kaguya could then just break up with them if he wanted to. It doesn't actually really mean anything. So that's like two possibilities I've thought of. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Frankly, after hearing the way they spoke about him, I got the sense that they hadn't treated him very well at all. Snow White's words echoed in my mind.
Is he your toy?
I should have stood up for him right then and there. I should have told him that Kaguya wasn't a prize to be won. He's an independent prince from the moon. But I didn't. And that was because... I gave up on clearing away the gloom in the air and instead spoke quietly. Are you still opposed to getting your memories back?
Good question. Hard to say without knowing what those memories are, really. But I reckon I was probably a right asshole. Just look at how many women I've cheated on all this time. What a slimy git I was.
Maybe you broke up with some of them before you... But before I finished my sentence, I realized, no, he probably didn't. If he'd ended things properly, these women wouldn't still be so hung up on him. I don't know about that. I've run into my fair share of crazy women. I don't really know about that.
They were all crying, weren't they? I can't imagine how many people I must have hurt all these years. I'm such a monster.
Is it possible Kaguya is a monster? I mean, we can't really say definitively. I'd like to think no, but it's possible. It's a possibility. We don't really know. We still have, no context for any of this. Not really. So I have to be honest and say maybe. But you're not a monster right now. Maybe so. I stopped and regarded him with a serious look. But more than that, I think the person you've hurt the most is probably yourself. This is true. He quirked a brow. You think I don't know what you're hiding behind that smile? Trust me, I'm not stupid. I wasn't joking around. Neither was he, of course, but unlike me, he was still smiling faintly.
What I'm hiding?
But before I could respond, I heard the front door jingle. Sounds like they're back.
Yeah.
This marked the end of our conversation. You can decide to be open about it, Kaguya. Once upon a time in the looking-glass world, there lived a peculiar young man named Kaguya. He was blessed with mysterious charms such that all the women of the world, rich or poor, fell head over heels for him. Alas, Kaguya suffered from amnesia. He had no clue who he was or how he'd spent his life. In an attempt to restore his lost memories, his caretakers held an extravagant party and gathered all the ladies in town. They were hoping at least one of these women would know about Kaguya, and sure enough, 5 such ladies stayed behind. The 5 women all insisted that Kaguya was their beloved, their property. Each of them begged him to remember their love affair. The caretakers saw this and said to the women,
She who brings the keepsake that successfully revives his memory shall be named his true lover.
The 5 women agreed that this was a good idea and promised to bring their keepsakes at a later date. Then they all went home. But in the end, no one knew which keepsake would revive his memories, nor what those memories even were. What happens if he gets memories from all of them? And do we have a keepsake? That night I lay in bed, deep in thought. Perhaps some people would find my present predicament irksome. After all, whoever brought forth an item that successfully jogged Kaguya's memory would then be considered his real girlfriend. It was like a contest at a fair. Step right up! Let's see what you've won! It's a new boyfriend! Admittedly, it was unethical to treat a human being like an object, but on the other hand, at least it made things simple. Yes, this was all a game. The master had issued a challenge, and now it was up to the players to rise to the task for a prize. That kind of game. I squeezed my eyes shut. If this was a game, then I needed to think of the optimal strategy. Just then, I heard a knock at my door, so I got up and answered it. Who could it be at this time of night?
It's me.
Out of all the guys in this place, you were the least expected. Come in. I opened the door to find a most uncommon visitor standing there. So uncommon I couldn't even wrap my word around my tongue. Words. Moving on.
Is it cool if I come in?
Sure. I stepped back and gestured for him to enter.
Pardon the intrusion.
What do you need, Snow White? It's past your bedtime.
Are you annoyed with the way things have turned out?
So dane.
You're lying.
I grinned mirthlessly.
You believe that restoring his memories is a necessary measure. If I hadn't suggested this, you surely would have.
Yeah, maybe so. As he stood there, I pulled out a nearby chair and offered it to him. He gracefully descended onto it, then fixed me with a scrutinizing look.
Tomorrow we might just see a war break out over who gets to keep your boyfriend.
Yep.
But you're not taking part. Why? Because you don't have a corresponding piece on this chessboard.
I laid my hand on the table and leaned forward slightly, peering into his eyes. That's right. After all, I don't have any keepsake I can offer. I'm not on the same playing field.
So you plan to use them to achieve your goals?
Sonotori! I shot him a wink. No finger guns. He stared back at me, his eyes icy and clear like a mirror's surface. If I let my guard down, it felt like he might just see right through me. You asked them if Kaguya was their toy. They said yes, and I didn't argue. Want to know why? Because I knew I was treating them like toys.
Well, aren't you a saint?
Yeah, I get that a lot. I smiled stiffly.
This could hurt him, you know.
Yeah.
Once he gets his memories back, he might leave you. You're not dating the real him, only the blank slate version.
I know. But I'd still prefer that he cured his amnesia. Why do you want Kaguya to regain his memories? Because it's the right thing to do. Regardless of love, it's the right thing to do. Because that's what's best for him.
You're doing it for him. Are you sure it's what he wants?
At a surface level, no, it's probably not. But what about subconsciously?
Subconsciously?
On an instinctual level, I mean.
Do you know the answer to that?
Nope. I'm as clueless as they come. But that just means I have room to learn. And I need to know what happened to him before he got amnesia. I need to know his pain and suffering. But most of all, I need to know what it is he truly wants.
And why is that?
Because I'm going to heal him.
You can't change the past, you know.
Yeah, I know. But I might be able to grant his wish, right? See, the thing is, Snow White, all I care about is making sure my beloved is happy.
Even if that happiness doesn't include you.
Yeah. Although obviously I'd love it if it did. Maybe I'm not on the chessboard just yet, but I'm willing to be turned into a pawn at any time. Then I'll get myself promoted into whatever piece I need to be to win.
Even if you die in the process.
Of course!
You're an odd duck.
Yeah, I get that a lot. I shot him another wink. You look almost fond of her for being such an odd duck, Snow. Yeah, our girl has no sense of self-preservation. She will literally jump into a burning furnace for the one she loves. The next day marked the start of the Keepsake tournament. On your marks, get set. Princess number 1. I love how they're doing this. It's so good. The first to turn up was the standoffish one. A bowl? We used this bowl a lot when we were together. Don't you remember?
I can't, sorry.
Sure you can. Take a good look. Didn't I take you in off the street when you had nowhere else to go? I fed you, gave you a room of your own, and helped you live a normal life. Remember? After all I did for you, you can't even remember. You're so entitled. You always have been.
Sorry.
If there was an option to punch this chick in the face, I would have taken it in a heartbeat. But instead I held back. It would be all too easy to give in to emotion, but to do so would be no different from giving her ammo to use against me. That said, at the very least, I wanted to say something in his defense. But Snow White stopped me.
If this bowl was so special to your relationship, then surely you must have some kind of anecdote about it, right?
An anecdote about a bowl? Hardly. We ate separately and never spoke. He didn't try to talk to us, and we didn't talk to him either. Huh?
I see. So he was an unwanted presence.
Unwanted? Don't put words in my mouth. I was just giving him his own space.
But you were ignoring him, right?
Well, what else was I supposed to do with him? He wasn't family. He was a foreign presence in my house.
Then why bother bringing us a keepsake at all? You don't even have any concrete proof that Kaguya actually used it.
You're right. I don't actually care about this piece of crap. And with that, she threw the bowl away. Alright, psycho. Look, Kaguya, you need a guardian to look after you. And I know the ball will end up in my court sooner or later, so just do as I tell you. That's enough. As she reached out to touch him, I interjected, stopping her short. Her cold eyes slowly turned to me. I stared back stubbornly, my eyes narrowed.
You chose to throw the ball away. It will never end up back in your court.
And now I'm throwing you out of the cafe. Get out of here. Sheesh. What a trash human being. Princess number 2! The next to visit was the haughty woman who had struck Kaguya in the cafe. Kaguya would always do anything I told him to. Cooking, cleaning, laundry, even helping me run the shop. You had him work for you? Oh, I most certainly did. I couldn't just let him live with me for free, you know. I needed him to pull his own weight, or else he'd just be a drain on my resources. I see. I didn't agree with it, but I could at least see where she was coming from. No one was obligated to take care of some guy they weren't related to. So, in exchange for those human necessities, she put him to work like a live-in assistant. Frankly, it wasn't all that different from his current situation with us. What? It's nothing. Don't read too much into it, Cinderella. But I tell you, he'd always get into trouble behind my back. It was so infuriating. What sort of trouble? If I sent him to the store, he'd buy things I didn't ask for, or buy the wrong thing altogether. Plus, he'd always wander off somewhere. God, what a hassle! Leave if you want to, but don't make me have to hunt you down and drag you back. All the neighbors gossiped about us. I was so embarrassed. I was tired of listening to her complain, so I decided to keep the conversation moving. So is that your keepsake? It sure is. It was what I believe to be a branch laden with peaches made out of fake crystal. That one I recognize out of all the impossible tasks. There was supposed to be like this jeweled branch that was completely fake. Oh hey, is this a glass ornament? Cinderella. He's like, ooh, glass. I love glass. Calm down, sir. Cinderella leaned forward curiously. He was a big fan of all things glass. You know, there's like ass men. Cinderella's a glass man. He's not an ass man, he's a glass man. Oh, I'm losing it. Sorry. Getting back on track. This is a keepsake he bought for me as a gift. The second I laid eyes on it, all my pain and misery just melted away. Everything he did for me, because he loved me. She spoke with an enraptured expression on her face. Kaguya, you love me. That means you belong to me. I'll forgive you for everything, so just come back to me, okay? Wait. Isn't this one of the ones I made? Ooh! Call her out, Cinderella! What? Man, this takes me back. This one was so damn hard to make. How the hell did you get your hands on it? No! You're lying! There's no way a mere amateur could make this! You think I'm lying? Well then, why don't we check my collection? And while we're at it, I can see if mine is missing. Oh, she stole from you! Dang, don't break that. Whatever you do, I will come find you, girl, and hunt you down. Cinderella smirked. That's not possible! I literally just bought this! And that was the moment she realized she had dug her own grave.
So in other words, it's a fake.
Fake as the crystal it's made of. Kaguya, does this item remind you of anything?
No.
Didn't think so. There were never any memories attached to this thing to begin with.
Cinderella snorted. Why? Having lost her temper, the woman grabbed at Kaguya. No violence! Together, Cinderella and I pulled her away from him. Good job, you two. I made so many sacrifices for you, and you were nothing but trouble! Did you think you could get back at me by disappearing? Someone ought to beat some sense into you! Forget it! Go wherever you want! I'm done with you! And so the woman stormed out of the cafe, her face beet red. Where did you find these women? Did you go out with them because they reminded you of your mother? Like, sheesh.
Real character, that one.
Huh. Princess number 3. The third to visit was the small cutesy girl. With her big puppy dog eyes, she showed us her keepsake. That's... The instant I laid eyes on it, I was stunned. In her hands was a tiny scrap of fabric burned to a crisp. A big chunk of ash or something? No! Just to humor her, I gave it another once-over. I'm pretty sure that's just a chunk of ash.
No, it's the robe Kaguya wore when he lived with me.
Biting back the urge to reply with, "Whatever you say, hun," I instead asked, "Then why is it charred black?"
Because there was a fire.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's okay. Things are a lot better now. Anyway, any luck, Kaguya? Sorry, I can't remember a thing. Oh.
When Kaguya shook his head, she seemed sort of relieved. Something about it felt off to me, so I questioned her further. So what was it like having Kaguya live with you?
Kaguya was always smiling, and everyone was always fawning over him, telling him how cute and precious he was. Buying him clothes and stuff.
So he was cuter than you? They still loved you, but not as much as Kaguya. Isn't that right? At this, the girl snapped.
No! That's not true! I'm way cuter than he is! I admit, he is cute, but not in an actually cute way. Just in a sad, pathetic way. They only coddled him because they felt sorry for him. That's not the same thing. I'm the cutest one. How is it I'm the one who ended up all neglected?
Ah, I see. So you were burning with jealousy. At this, her complexion turned green with envy. And those flames consumed this keepsake of yours, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Poor me, constantly being compared to him. Meanwhile, the precious Kaguya kept smiling away. But I knew those smiles were fake, so I decided I'd rip the phony's mask off and take him down a peg. Come back to my house, okay, Kaguya? It'll work out this time. They all know exactly what you're like. I made sure to tell them, so this time you can be jealous of me.
The second you gave in to your jealousy, that keepsake lost any value it had. As proof of that, you were unable to restore Kaguya's memories. Consequently, you will receive no prize. Go home.
At least she left. And finally, Princess number 4. The fourth visitor was the fashionable girl we met in the shopping district. See? It's the jade necklace! Remember?
No, I'm afraid I don't.
Oh, please! Get a better look at it then! She was flippant in both tone and attitude, but Kaguya treated her kindly nonetheless.
Sorry, love. Could you tell me what sort of memories are associated with it?
Haha! You never change, do you? We made tons of memories with this. See, it all started when I told you I dropped this jade necklace in the lake and made you look for it.
Made me look for it?
Yeah. I mean, you always did anything we asked. So one day we decided to test you to see just how far you'd go. So we told you we'd lost something important and asked you to help us look. Obviously, you were never going to find it. Why? Because we hadn't actually lost it. But you didn't realize we were lying. You kept searching, even in the pouring rain, to the point that you got sick. No idea what happened to you after that, but clearly you survived. Good for you. Say, Kaguya, do you remember now? Come home with me. Entertain us some more.
Sorry.
You don't? How come?
Before you go, can I ask one last question? In the end, I came home empty-handed, yeah? Suppose I'd somehow had the necklace. Would it have...
His voice began to falter, so I stepped in. They set you up to fail. Whether you looked or not, the outcome was always going to be the same. Kaguya hung his head in defeat, so I decided to let Snow White make the final call. What do you think, boss?
Send her away.
You heard the man. Get out. And so a week flew by. Oh, that was useless. All we knew is that he had terrible taste in women. Though the four princesses utilized their cunning, wealth, and influence, all of their strategies ended in failure. When they realized Kaguya would never be theirs, they hurled insults at him and stormed out. As for the fifth princess... Well, I'm sure exhausted. In more ways than one.
Yeah, no kidding.
What a total bust. That night, we stood in the empty dining hall talking about the events of the past week.
Those bitches, I tell ya. First they're screaming that Kaguya's their property, and then when he doesn't remember him, they call him an entitled asshole and walk out on him.
Those bitches. Nicely summarized. Indeed, the women had all written Kaguya off the moment he failed to remember them. Their final parting words to him were, "After everything I did for you, why won't you do what I tell you?" In the end, they only cared about what he could offer them. Meanwhile, Kaguya stared into space. Kaguya?
What is it, Pulpit?
Oh, nothing.
Don't sweat it. You survived this long without your memories. You'll be fine.
Cinderella put an arm around Kaguya's shoulders to cheer him up.
If you want, I can hook you up with someone way hotter.
Excuse me?
Oh, right. Forgot you were already taken. Right.
It's like, I gotta go. I just remembered I'm late for my dentist appointment. Cinderella, come on, man. Cinderella took one look at me and hurried back to his room. That's what I thought. I let out a sigh. Both Cinderella and Snow White had taken pity on Kaguya and tried to help him. But as for Kaguya himself... Uh-oh. We're running out of time. Has it been 2 weeks now? At least 2 weeks. Kaguya started to lose himself in thought with growing frequency. Whenever the winter night sky was clear, he'd wander outside and stare up at the moon. What is it with you and the moon? I stood beside him, partly to keep him company and partly to keep him from vanishing altogether. Again with that. Over time, the moon was shifting from a waxing crescent to a proper full moon.
Nothing.
I see. Well, you shouldn't be wandering around outside this late at night. We're all really worried about you. Why don't we go back home?
Back home?
Yeah. Or is there somewhere specific you wanted to go? I'll come with you. At this question, he lifted his head and gazed at the sky once more. E.T. Home. His eyes were always fixed firmly on the moon. The one place I couldn't go.
You said there's a rabbit on the moon, yeah?
Yeah.
Do you remember what I told you? that rabbits have long ears that can hear voices from miles away?
Yeah, I remember.
Back then, you said that ability would send the rabbit into despair, but I think you're a bit off the mark there. The rabbit was already in despair right from the start. He hears those voices because of it. That's why he yearns for the moon. Every time he sees it, he feels so sad and alone. But moon dwellers are beautiful, opulent people who never grow old and never have any problems. They live in a utopia.
I knew painfully well just what he meant.
The rabbit wants to go home, to the moon.
It was his deepest, most desperate desire.
I've thought about it, and you know what, Puppet? I think those ladies might be right. I'm a right mess of a person. I ought to be grateful they let me into their homes at all. I've got nothing to offer them. Nothing special in terms of looks, just some funny clothes. No talent. I'm only useful as a servant. They only cared about me because I served a purpose to them. They never needed me. Hey, Puppet. Are you going to do what they did? And... No, never mind. Sorry, that was stupid of me. Have I upset you?
No, I'm fine. Like I said before, I'm stronger than you think. You can get a little rough with me. I won't break. Now let's go home.
Right.
I took his hand and proceeded to drag him back to the cafe. I want you here, sir. Aw, hello, little bunny.
Hello there, Puppet. It seems I've been worrying you as of late, so this time I'd like to talk about something fun. One of the old grandpas who frequents the cafe says he's missed seeing you around. Apparently, you remind him of his wife when she was young. How dare he gush about my girlfriend's smile right to my face? You've got all the men wrapped around your finger, don't you? Our conversation reminded me of the day I first met you. From the moment I laid eyes on you, I thought you were a friendly girl with a sweet smile. Everyone adores you, Puppet. To me, you've always seemed so perfect and untouchable. When we first started dating, you told me that as we spent time together and made memories together, our feelings would turn into true love. Do you still feel that way? Do you still want to learn more about me? Why is it that you're in a relationship with me, Puppet?